I view myself as a composer first and foremost. What I always look for are interesting and exciting projects to get my teeth into, and sometimes it's a big TV series. Sometimes it's a choral commission that's going to be sung by an amazing choir in an amazing location, and I get to shut down an awful lot of the electronics and just concentrate on what the human voice can do. Sometimes it's turning the lights off and it's just me and a piano, and in many ways that's where I started and that's where my heart still is. I'm Hilgrove Kenrick. I write music for TV and film, theatre, and choral commissions alongside my own piano works and albums. I've worked for a variety of different networks worldwide, several feature films, including Suicide Club, which got 3 Best Score awards worldwide. I'm a composer first and foremost. I write music and I want to be in a space in which I feel inspired, enthusiastic, but crucially at peace. This is, in my head, very much a writing room, not a studio. I don't need absolute needle drop deadness. I don't need something that you walk in it and it feels like an anechoic chamber and the room collapses around you. It felt like I could actually somewhere I wanted to be. And that way, fitting the speakers around, fitting the tech around, then it was a case of actually the tech disappears. The room disappears and I can just be in here and work. Having a rig that, with the help here of, the PMC speakers, having the ORIA which can flick between all of these different formats, running innuendo that will happily downmix from whatever level I start at to whatever level I need to render at, and indeed render out multiple downmixes simultaneously. It's ideal because it means we can manage, as a composer, whatever gets thrown at us, whatever day it comes. I have always believed that technology is a tool. It's there to help us, but at the same time, it's very, very easy for technology to get in the way. I've spent an awful lot of time over the years obsessively streamlining, actually wanting to have a rig, a system, a room, a space where I just walk in and write. You want to have something that is seamless because we're here to create. We're not here to press knobs and twiddle with things and hope it makes a nice noise. I was very lucky a number of years ago that I was working with colleagues who were hugely into spatial audio and ambisonics. I feel privileged in many ways that they dragged me along with it, even whilst I was at the back of the room utterly confused by what on earth they were all talking about. We're now in a situation where any given project, and again, it doesn't matter whether it's a solo voice and a piano, a choir, a game score that could be in quad, a TV score that could be in 5.1, or a release that could be in some level of ambisonics or Atmos. All of the same rules still apply. You don't want to be spending your day chasing the technology. I want to be able to create music. Creating music is what I do, so the technology has to seamlessly fit behind me, or it has no place in this room. In many ways, having a calibrated space, having all of the speakers here, and the very nature of how Atmos works, or spatial audio works, that we can go between binaural to stereo to 5.1 to 7.1.4 to 9.1.6 to onwards and upwards. Being able to monitor here, being able to have the ORIA that's given me the calibration that's actually leveled everything out, having the opportunity to actually monitor properly in Atmos, knowing that it's calibrated, knowing that it's accurate, then whether it's getting mixed down to binaural or whether I'm taking it elsewhere for a final polish or it's going to a dub stage in 9.1.6 or into one of the cinema formats, I've got a heads up on what it actually sounds like before it leaves this room. So this is Grains Part 3, part of the Murmurs series of EPs, which start coming out later on this year. As I described earlier, Part 3 is where things get very simple. So this is cutting a very complex arrangement down to simply a solo voice and a piano. It's very tempting with something as complex as Atmos, or indeed as daunting, to go for something with huge numbers of channels, an awful lot going on, and then get yourself buried into beds for this, objects for that, panning for the other, and lose yourself. One of the things for me, as I described earlier, was this idea of simply the ability to use space. And for that, actually, I wanted to go with something super, super simple. So this track is purely a piano and a voice. However, the voice, luckily enough, was recorded with multiple microphones, which makes it very, very easy to place around the room. So in this instance, we actually have one set of the voice, which is pulled backwards and is into the sides. So that way, if we hear it all dry, then we already have one voice at the front and one voice to the side. That way we still have the two takes, we still have the interest of what the voice is doing. But it's an awful lot broader than where it started. If we then look to putting reverb over that, like we would with any other space, simply using something like Liquid Sonic's cinematic rooms to place them in a space together, we get another layer. And of course, this also enables us to add the extra that comes from a surround, or in this case, Atmos reverb. And from that, we're already starting to get more in the sides, the rear, and obviously the height, which we didn't have earlier. But you will have heard with that as well, there's a third thing going on. There's a delay, and the delay is just on the one voice, not on both. But interestingly, while the voice is right at the front, the delay is in the height and in the rear, just to really give as much of that space as we possibly can. And then the final polish is a really, really, really long tail black hole reverb, just to give us as much splosh everywhere as we possibly can. Here we are experimenting with space, and yet we still have a very upfront and intimate vocal, because the big splosh reverb is actually hauled off the fronts. So all of that happens above us, around us, but not right in front of us. We still get the intimate sense of the vocalist being right with us. So when we put that all into the context of the full mix, we have all the space we could possibly wish for, simply with one voice and one piano.